You are welcome to today's lesson. We are continuing our discussion on rigid motion 2, and our subtopic for discussion is rotation through 90 degrees clockwise. Now, rotation 90 degrees clockwise about the origin will produce the same result as rotation 270 degrees anticlockwise about the origin. But our focus is to illustrate rotation 90 degrees clockwise. In our subsequent discussion, we will look at rotation 270 degrees anticlockwise and compare the results. Now, how do we perform rotation 90 degrees clockwise? Remember, I stated that rotation 90 degrees clockwise will produce the same result as 270 degrees anticlockwise rotation. And so to illustrate rotation 90 degrees clockwise, our focus will be on the first quadrant. That is the positive side of the y-axis and the positive side of the x-axis. Clockwise rotation means we are moving forward. Now, how do we perform 90 degrees clockwise rotation? Remember, we stated that in this kind of rotation, we are moving forward. So the x-axis, which is the positive side of the x-axis, moves first, followed by the positive side of the y-axis. So we only rotated once, and that forms an angle of 90 degrees. You will observe that on the x-axis, after performing rotation 90 degrees clockwise, the x-axis produces the y value, and this y value appears on the positive side of the x-axis. On the y-axis also produces an x value, and this x value appears on the negative side of the y-axis. This implies that anytime I have an object point xy and I'm rotating this object point through 90 degrees clockwise rotation, what this implies is that the x-axis, which is my x coordinate, will produce a y value. And remember, we said the y value appeared on the positive side of the x-axis. That is why it is positive y. And on my y-axis, which is my y coordinate, the y coordinate or the y-axis produces an x value. And this x value appeared on the negative side of the y-axis. That is why we have negative x. So this also means that in rotation 90 degrees clockwise, the x moves down and is negated, whilst the y moves up. This can also be written as a point, that is xy mapping to y negative x. Now let's look at an example. In this example, we are to draw the triangle ABC with vertices A 24, B 36, and C 66. Also, we are to draw the image triangle A1B1C1 of triangle ABC under a rotation through 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. And lastly, we are to indicate the coordinates of the triangle A1B1C1. In our solution, remember that anytime we have an object point xy and we are rotating through 90 degrees clockwise, the x coordinate moves down and is negated, while the y coordinate moves up. The first point given to us was point A, which is 2, 4. And so as usual, the x coordinate, which is 2, moves down and is negated, whilst the y coordinate, which is a positive 4, moves up. And that will produce the image point A1 for negative 2. Point B was also given as 3, 6. And as usual, the x coordinate moves down and is negated, whilst the y coordinate moves up. And that will produce the image point B1, which is 6, negative 3. The last point C, which is 6, 6, also implies that the x coordinate, which is 6, moves down and is negated, whilst the y coordinate moves up. And that will produce the new image point C1, 6, negative 6. So we can plot this on our graph. And as usual, we need the x and the y-axis. I'll need the positive and the negative side of the y-axis, and also the positive and the negative side of the x-axis. We were given the point 2, 4, B, which is 3, 6, and C, 6, 6 to plot. And so as usual, I can plot the point A, point B, and point C, and join them together to form the triangle ABC. And after performing our rotation through 90 degrees clockwise, we produce a set of image points. The first point produced was A1, which is 4, -2. The second point was B1, which is 6, -3. And the last point is C1, 6, -6. Quickly, we join the points together, and that will form the image point A1, B1, C1. Now, let's take note that I stated previously that rotation 270 degrees anti-clockwise will also produce the same result just as we had under rotation 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. I'm going to illustrate that in our next lesson. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe.